Yeah, got it.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you.
This is so weird.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Please sit down now so we can start.
Most of the time, I bet you.
These are not attractive.
Thank you.
These do not match
Would you
my
sit down now,
dress.
please? You too?
It's really loud.
These are horrible.
Okay.
Initial question.
Welcome to the press conference to the movie Fireflies in the Garden by Dennis Lee, and I'm going to introduce our guests to you. And I'm starting from your left. This is the producer of the movie, Marco Weber. Welcome. And this is the actress who played Jane in her younger years, Hayden Panettiere. Welcome. And Mr. Ryan Reynolds, who played Michael. Welcome to Berlin. And this is Willem Dafoe. And next to me is the director of the movie, Dennis Lee. Welcome to Berlin. So do you have any questions so far for us? There's one. Please wait for the microphone.
Hello, my name is Cameron. I'm from Turkish Press here in Berlin. Thank you very much. It's very nice to meet you. Thank you so much for the movie. It's a nice movie. I have one question to Ryan Reynolds and Willem Dafoe. How was it to work together, and how are you thinking about the relationship between father and son?
Well, I think, most father-son dynamics are not without their complications, I certainly have my own experiences that, I was able to use, some of which in the film. I think the movie to me isn't necessarily about their separateness, at least our dynamic. It's more about them finding a way to build a bridge to get together again somehow, and not necessarily cross that bridge just yet, but to build it. So I really felt like it was authentic. It was a very authentic relationship. At least for me, it was. I think what's interesting about a movie like this is not what's said, but what's left unsaid. So.
In that same spirit, actually, we don't have that many scenes together.
Yeah.
But we have a lot next to each other. So, what can I say? Ryan was on my mind. But, and other than that, we, just play the scenes and have an idea about what has to be accomplished and what they're about.
Thank you. The next question?
Yes, I'm just curious about whether there was a scene that makes the relationship between Jane and Michael more explicit that might have been shot but cut for some reason.
Ooh, you sound like you know what you're talking about already, and you're just asking.
No, I'm just wondering.
Dennis, you probably can answer that better than I can.
Okay, so the question again is whether or not there was a scene shot and cut out of the film, right?
Well, I think you're talking about that has to do with the relationship of them, right?
I think Ryan said it
Makes it more
perfectly, actually.
explicit.
Ryan said, what this film is as much about as of what's said is we don't say what we mean. We don't want to say a lot of things. And when that book is burned, we're not privy to the information of exactly what happened that summer. The people who need to know, who are the father, Michael, Jane, and Lisa, who's gone, they're the only people who need to know. And Michael goes through that growth and therefore burns the book. So we don't know. I know.
I know.
Hayden knows.
So maybe you can tell us something more about the development of the story, Mr. Lee.
Well, I think it always helps to have a backstory, whether you develop it yourself or along with the director and writer, or, it just, the information that you guys didn't get helped me to find the character. Let's just say she was going through a difficult time in her life, and she was angry, and she goes from angry to developing this wonderful relationship because of this horrible, this thing that's happened to her, and because of what Michael's going through, and that's where they find their common ground. They're rocks for each other, they're support systems for each other, and that's where they develop this very intense bond.
But I just, this question has come up a couple of times in a couple of different sessions. And the way that I just want to address this is that we have been, all of us as the audience, have been given access to the Taylor family for what is one of the most difficult times in their lives, for 1 week. Enough secrets have been put out there. Whether or not they're reliable in terms of flashback, enough secrets have been put out there that we're not privy to all of that information, and nor should we be. So we're leaving it to the audience to create the backstory of exactly what happened. And your backstory is as valid as any others. So that's it.
Do you have any more questions? No. So, Mr. Dafoe, maybe you can tell us something about your character, playing this very stubborn guy in a way who changes his mind somehow in this family story. Can you understand him? Can you understand why he changes somehow and tries to make everything different?
Well, there's sort of, by how the story is told, you get two different Charleses because you get him at two different periods of his life. One is where he's a very strident guy trying to protect his idea of what is the perfect family, what is the road to happiness. And he does it with quite a heavy hand. And I think there's a great disconnect because he is a loving father, but he's quite brutal. Then later, after a tragedy happens, he has to reconsider, not only deal with that loss, but also reconsider how he's living his life, and also deal with a certain amount of guilt and deal with how he's dealt with his children in the past, because it creates a reunion. So that's much different, and I think he's not so much remorseful as there is some sort of change, and there is some sort of desire. He softens, and there is some sort of better understanding of where that disconnect is.
Thank you. Mr. Lee, you seem to have very precise description of this. You give a very precise description of this family, as I feel it. Because they don't say anything. They all have their secrets, but somehow you know what's behind them only with their actions. So how did this idea to make a movie like this come up from?
Well, the idea for making Fireflies in the Garden, it started in 1999. My mother passed away in a car accident, so she was taken from my life. Now, what has that got? Anyhow, she was taken from my life, and I started film school that fall, and this was the first script that I wrote while I was in film school. And for me, it was just, writing the script was just a cathartic experience where it was just, in honor of my parents, both my mother and my father. And I can't believe that it's the first film that I've been able to make. I'm sitting on this stage overwhelmed, a bit nervous, and I have to honestly say that I am incredibly grateful for everybody here. From Marco down to Hayden, down to Ryan, down to Willem, to all these people who honestly made what we did a possibility. And we did it for the right reasons, and we had the best of intentions. And so, can I swear? So screw everything else. We did it the right way. So I'm proud of what we did.
Maybe Ryan, there's another question from the audience.
Gemma Fem, Radio Kiev, Ukraine. A question to Mr. Dafoe. Your character is obviously a very complicated person. What the features of this character are of real you, and what were the, if any, and what are your findings of this character on set, probably? Thanks.
It's always hard to account for things because it's really sort of that's not my impulse at the end to decide what the character is. Sometimes at the end I honestly don't know what the character is. I only know what I went through or what the character went through. How am I like him? I'm obviously somewhere like him because I identified with him in some ways. hard to say exactly how, except for I know my father, for example, as a model for this role, is not a very good model, but I do recognize a certain kind of formula for happiness that guys from the culture that I grew up in really subscribe to. And sometimes they really weren't living life because they were so fearful of not having the good life. So that's what I kept on encountering in this role. This guy inflicts incredible cruelty in the name of love. And that disconnect is very attractive to me because I see it everywhere in all kinds of relationships.
Thank you. Maybe Mr. Reynolds can say something about his character, because in a way everything seems to mirror. He seems to mirror everything. You know, your character seems to be he's the center, but. So how did you approach?
The biggest discovery I made, you know, without getting into too much actor hooey, was just that, you know, these two guys are incredibly similar. You know, there's an inherited hubris that my character, I think, expresses throughout the course of the film, and I feel like in any relationship it takes two people to heal it. You know, you can't just do it with one. And I think what struck me most about it was that, you know, the perfect home in America and all over the world is a myth. I mean, you can have a roof over your head and, you know, two parents that are together and food on the table, but that doesn't, you know, that doesn't stop intense emotional violence to go on in the home, or just dysfunction in general. So, you know, I feel like obviously the kid, the part of my character that was very young in the film was harmed in certain ways, but I mean, you know, we also see the humanity in Willem's character, and I think that speaks greatly to his performance. I mean, he's such an impossible character to vilify, despite, you know, having these incredible outbursts, and you know, I think that is also just good filmmaking, when you can create characters that are so dynamic that they're not just, you know, paper thin, or you really do see the humanity to them. So.
Thank you. There's another question on the right.
I have a question for the producer. I would like to know what was the sparkle that made you decide I want to invest my money in this project?
Yeah, I'd like to know that too.
Yeah. No, I thought it was an incredibly well-written script. It was a beautiful script. I liked the fact that it was a quiet movie. I'm very interested in father-son relationships. Also, you know, years ago I made a movie called Igby Goes Down, which kind of dealt about the relationship between like a teenager and his father. And this is pretty much a late twin and his father, you know, coming to terms with their issues. And that's what I liked in the screenplay, that it was very honest. It was authentic. I believed in it, and I just thought that Dennis would be able to pull it off. So it's just like a combination of things that, you know, gave me the gut feeling that we could risk this. And also, in addition to that, I and my company, we like to work with first-time directors. My collaborators are down there, like Suki Chu and Vanessa Kaufmann, who like also believed in the screenplay from the beginning. And yeah, we just said, let's do it. And then Dennis pulled it off in an incredible way. And this whole journey started here last year in Berlin. That's the first time we announced that we were going to do the movie. And then all these incredible actors came on board, and Dennis was, yeah, he was in a position to convince them that he could pull it off. And there we are today. So I'm incredibly proud that Dennis delivered the way we hoped he would, and I think the actors feel the same way. So what is significant about this movie is that it's really a very collaborative effort. This is like the effort of a group. It is a movie about an ensemble, and it would not have been possible without any of these creative elements or any of the talent missing.
Thank you. There's another question on the left, on the far left.
Hi, I'd like to ask Mr. Lee about cinematography, the climate of the film, color, texture, lighting, because these are very important for this film to express the human feeling and nature and everything. So what was the discussion with your cinematographer, and what was your plan? Thank you.
You're welcome. Danny Mutter did amazing job with the cinematography of Fireflies. The story is told in present day and flashback, as you all know. And what we didn't want to do was to have just such a jarring difference between the present day and the flashback. We wanted one to almost meld seamlessly into the other. So what we essentially did was we desaturated the present day stock, muted the colors, and really softened the lights. And then in the flashbacks, what we did was, we pushed the film. So the blacks got a little bit crushed. It gave it more of that Kodachrome feeling, for lack of a better way to describe it, where the colors actually were richer in the flashback than in the present day. But the difference wasn't that huge, The other thing we did was we went handheld. And the handheld was just a choice that I wanted to make in terms of, in the present day, things are, they're steady. They're on sticks, they're on dollies, they're on Steadicam, whatever. But in the past, it's just the way I see things. I remember bits and moments of pieces of my memory. And so that's why we decided to go handheld in that. So, but Danny's amazing.
Thank you. Another question on the left? Please, sir, yeah.
Hi, I'm Parvis. I have two questions for wonderful Hayden. It's a big pleasure to meet you. My first question is, you're just 18, and by the fans, the most loved character in the series Heroes. You play with so many great, talented Hollywood actors, so did you ever expect this huge success?
Well, I'm not sure I'm the most popular character. I think some people...
You are.
Trust me,
it's only because of the cheerleading outfit, though, I have to say. Well, I've been doing this for a really long time, and I've had the privilege and pleasure of working with so many just fabulous actors. And I've always said that the best training you could possibly get in acting is being on set with people like Willem and Ryan and Julia and Emily, and just observing them, just watching them, and silently learning so much from them. I don't think anyone ever expects that kind of success for themselves. I can say that just being on the show has turned my world upside down and shook it around a little bit. And it's just been a wonderful ride. It's been a wonderful ride, and to be able to be sitting up here with such incredible actors whom I respect and have had such a wonderful time working with is just something you only dream of. So I'm very privileged to be where I am.
You will having your own action figure, 7-inch, which comes out in a few weeks. So what kind of feeling is it for you?
It's taller than I am. What? 7 inches?
little bit smaller. But if I'm allowed to give you this. What do you think about it? Is it spooky to know that millions of people can play around the world with your character or with your face on?
I better be wearing underwear, that's all I have to say. Under that cheerleading outfit.
Where can I get one of these?
I think in America. But they're not released. They will come out maybe in a few weeks, I think. I found it on the internet yesterday evening. It's crazy.
It's crazy. It's fun. It's fantastic. I mean, I do have to say I have the original because my cousin, who's a big action figure fan, actually made one for me.
Wait, do you get a cut?
What?
Do you get a cut?
Of the money.
Better. Isn't that why we're striking?
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very cool. It's very cool. Maybe we'll make Fireflies in the Garden action figures.
Yeah. You fund it, we'll make it.
Yeah. With posable emotion.
There was another question over there somewhere. Yes. The one with yeah.
Hi. A question to Mr. Lee. Cathartic fiction is probably dangerous. You always have to deal with resentments and this kind of things. I would be interested in the reaction of your folks. Did it happen that some of them pointed a finger at you, that you were heavy-handed here and there? And I would like to talk about this point, please.
Okay, so just so I understand, the question is my family's reaction to the film? Okay. We haven't seen it. My sister worked on the production design team on Fireflies, and she is really the only one to have seen the movie at this point. My father has not yet seen the film, yet has read the script. And it was one of the first things that I did. I made sure that he read the script and understood that this is a fiction. It's a fictional account, and the character of Charles is actually a composite, of some events from my childhood, but mostly fathers of friends of mine, where I knew on at an early age that I was blessed to have the parents that I have, because I had a lot of friends who did not have that experience. So.
And after making this movie, Mr. Lee, do you now have the feeling that you don't, that your next project won't be something with your family because you know you had this done?
The best and the worst thing that ever happened was the description of this being semi-autobiographical, because then it's a slippery slope as to how you define semi.
Okay.
So, I'm going to do a comedy next. And,
we're looking forward to it.
Yeah.
There are 2 more questions?
Against the blue screen.
I have a question to Mr. Dafoe. For 3 times we heard from singers that music cannot change politics. Do you think cinematography can do it?
I think a film can change people's way of thinking, yes. So I guess that makes it politically potent.
Thank you. Another question over there on the right.
Hello, I'm Emanuel Sescu from Romania. I have a question for the producer and also for the director. How can you manage to have this incredible cast? Was it hard to convince all the actors to join this project? Thank you.
You want to go first, or should I?
That's a compliment for Dennis, I think. It's like to convince these actors to work with the first-time director is always a difficult thing, because they don't know what they have to deal with at the end of the day. Because he's never done a long feature. Dennis has done an amazing short. That's what everybody could take a look at. But I think at the end of the day it was, and I'm speaking for the actors probably now, but it was the quality of the screenplay, the characters that they identified in that screenplay, which Dennis brought to the page, that made them jump through the hoop and say, okay, we're going to do this, though this is an independent movie. And obviously, or pretty much every actor had to take a cut to his usual payday, but they said this is something that creatively we want to do. And
Sorry.
okay, that is because Dennis wrote a beautiful screenplay. So that's what probably answers this question from the production standpoint, and you should. I
have to say too, though, that, and I'm gonna embarrass you, so
okay.
You can close your ears. But you would never know in a million years, and I've said this to a lot of you who we had interviews today. You would never in a million years be able to tell that this was Dennis's first film directing. I've said, many times over and over again that the director sets the tone for a set constantly, and if they're uptight and very stressed out, the entire set isn't uptight and stressed out. And Dennis just created such a wonderful collaborative environment where he really allowed us to be actors and really allowed us to bring our own things to the table with the characters, and had a really open mind about it, which is, I would think, very difficult for somebody who's lived with it as long as Dennis has and has written it. Maybe not. Maybe that's just who you are, but I've experienced that a lot. So it was just much more of a privilege, because he was so cool, calm, and collected, and I'm totally honest when I say you would never, ever know that this was his first time.
Yeah, she said it. Yeah.
Okay. There's another question on the left.
To the director, I was very impressed with the music in the film and how it set a tone for the story. How did you go about choosing your film composer? And
I think it's one of those things where, what was I watching? I was watching the Transformers on the plane here. Naturally, I was watching the Transformers, and the car chooses the person, the owner, not the owner choosing the car. Right. Anyhow, I think it was Javier chose us, to do the score of Fireflies, and just did a brilliant job. He was given the movie by Marco. I'm getting the story right?
Yep.
And to make a long story short, I had a phone conversation with Javier. I've never actually met him in person. But we talked on the phone where he just understood so many different layers of the film by watching it. And he just got things that I didn't even intend. I mean, just saw things in it that he wanted to interpret musically. And it just came out with a beautiful score, you know? Just very simple, very sparse, very clean, and yet incredibly emotional. Incredibly emotional. That's it.
We were also very impressed by Javier's work on Pan's Labyrinth, and that's pretty much how the idea came up, and we pretty much hit the right spot at his career because he got offered all big fantasy movies after being nominated for Pan's Labyrinth, and what he wanted to do was something completely different, and that's why he chose Fireflies as his next move after Pan's, because he also felt that it in tone and in position was something that he hadn't done before in his career, and that's why he came on board.
Are there any more questions? If not, I would like to thank you all for your interest, for being here, and thank you for this wonderful movie. Thank you.